Hey everybody, it's Catherine from Dryer Days Art Studio. Thank you so much for watching this video. In this video, I really want to go over the importance of personal protective equipment. As many of you know, I opened a storefront in Old Colorado City, and I've brought in a lot of my Dryer Days Color Joy products into my storefront. I have been doing this on my e-commerce site since 2019 and decided to open a storefront and bring it to everybody here in Colorado Springs. Now, I've had a YouTube channel for even longer than my e-commerce store and also an Instagram. And I've always talked about the importance of protecting yourself, no matter how safe the resin is, no matter how non-toxic, low odor, low VOC, etc. This is still a chemical that we're using to make art, and it is releasing gases and things into the atmosphere that we are directly exposed to. And it is so important to protect ourselves. And one thing that really shocked me when I opened my store is having all these customers of different experience levels with resin, from, hey, I've seen this on YouTube, I think it's really cool, I've never tried it, to people who have been making like pyramids forever. And the consensus kind of among all of them is like, nobody's using personal protective equipment. And this is really scaring me because we are using chemical. We need to be safe about it. We need to be smart, especially if we want to have years of being able to use this art form in the future. We need to protect ourselves. So I want to give you guys the top 4 things that are a must-have for me in my studio when I'm using resin, and maybe like a little extra or some like extra tips. I always like tend to get rolling on these things and I think of things and I just throw them in. So buckle up. The number 1 most important thing you need to have when you are working with epoxy resin, UV resin, whatever, is a well-ventilated area. So I personally have a small room in the lower level of my house. It's almost like a basement, but there's a window, a large like egress window that I can open. And I also have the fan going. If I have like a bunch of projects and I've got a lot of resin, I will really have the ceiling fan going to really push and pull that fresh air in and out. Okay, it is so important to have a ventilated area. We'll even leave that window cracked while the pieces are curing down there, because it is so important that we're letting those gases escape and get out of our living environment. Because let's face it, most of us are doing this where we live, in a garage, in a basement, in a studio space, whatever. And we have children, we have families, we have pets, and this can affect all of them. This is part of the reason I have always wanted to like go rent a studio space somewhere, and I've always felt like I couldn't, because I knew that it was like sharing space with some other artists that probably weren't using resin, and I didn't feel like that was fair to be releasing these chemicals into the air and maybe these people not be aware of it or have their own PPE on. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, most important thing for protecting yourself while using resin, is an organic vapors respirator. Now, I always link my favorite respirators and tools that I use in my videos in my Amazon store. I will do that again here for you guys. I mean, you can pick up one of these things for like 20 bucks, okay? And the health and the time and the safety that this is going to save you to have one of these babies is just priceless. You have to have one. I cannot stress that enough. You really need to be wearing one of these when you are working with resin. Third thing are black nitrile gloves. One of my dear friends who I got into resin, was like, I don't really need the gloves, and it got all over her hands. She could not get it off. It then got in her hair, on her face, in her makeup, in her eyelashes. Just get the gloves. Okay, I prefer black nitrile gloves, and we're not running into any kind of latex allergy. I used to use these specific gloves when I did hair for almost 12 years, and I love them. They're nice and snug. They come up higher on your wrist for added protection, and I like to have that snugness because I want it to almost feel like I've got nothing on my hands when I'm working, when I'm doing artwork, because I don't like feeling like I've got like stuff just hanging off my fingers, and then that makes a mess. I don't feel good about the artwork I'm creating when I have something like that. So you want to get a size that fits you. Last but not least, we're going to talk about goggles or eyewear, eye protection. And people are kind of split on this. I will be honest. It sort of depends on what I'm doing. I do have the full face organic vapor respirators, which provide a shield to cover your eyes, your nasal passages, your mouth, the whole gamut. I do find those a little hard to work in. I don't feel like you can see through them very well. So I will be honest, I really only use those in specific situations, or if I'm doing like a really big project and there's a lot of resin going on. A bonus here for something that isn't really protection, but is very helpful to have, and I talk about it in almost all my videos. I use baby wipes for almost everything. And I use the sensitive skin ones that are like really natural, no added fragrances or anything. And I really don't have to use that many while I'm working. I know that's like a factor that comes in for a lot of us, is that like the waste that we're using and being mindful of that. I don't use that many. One goes a long way, and it gets all the resin off your gloves. It gets it off your skin. It gets it off your tools, your implements, your mixing cups beautifully. So there's a little extra added tip. I keep baby wipes. Again, everything that I use is in my Amazon store. I will link that for you guys below. I hope this was helpful. Please protect yourselves when we're working with resin, because again, this is a chemical. We are combining 2 parts of a liquid that is having a chemical reaction and is putting fumes out into the air that we are then ingesting, breathing in, and just please protect yourself so we can all have fun and keep on creating.